Perfect, perfect. Well, look, David, I'm very grateful to have you here. This is amazing. It's great to kind of get the ball rolling, and honored to have you as the first guest as well. It's really amazing.
Appreciate
Um,
it.
of course, man. And for those that kind of don't know kind of what it is you do, or kind of what your background looks like. I mean, how is that you actually got to where you are today, and what did that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, like I was involved in business stuff from a pretty young age. I just didn't really find the type of people and network, I suppose, to kind of help me get to it. But now I originally grew up in Australia. I moved out to Europe. I'm living out in Marbella at the moment, and run a couple companies, a couple seven-figure companies, with a team of about probably 80 full-time staff across them right now. And so yeah, I'm just running that across CEO across three different companies right now.
Okay, okay, amazing. And initially, like, what was it that actually? I know you said like you always kind of interested in business, like from a young age. Like, what did that look like?
I think at 12 years old, I read a book. It was I don't know if you've heard of this, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Great book, great book. Anyway, I took it off my dad's bookshelf at like 12 years old. I was like, oh my God, like I've found the solution to everything. Like, Dad, have you ever read this? And he's like, yeah, it's a good book. And I was like, no, 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 you don't understand. Like, this is crazy. And then that just kind of sparked the awareness. And I think that's the first step is just awareness that it's possible. And from there, I think maybe 15 or 16, I was doing every side hustle under the sun. So FBA, drop shipping, brands, I was doing wholesaling, uh, exercise equipment companies, pretty much everything that you can think of in terms of a business model, but I just didn't really understand business or like found people that was in similar situations. So it just became a lot harder to do it all yourself.
Mm. I think everybody goes through that phase where, you're just kind of looking for some quick money. So you try out a bit of dropship and a bit of SMA or whatever it may be. I
Yeah.
went that for so long, but I really didn't kind of have like an actual reason behind it. It was just kind of okay. Let me get some money. What was it for you when you were like, okay, like I'm serious about business now. Like I want to actually do this. I'm not just after like a quick book.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I was always interested in doing it. I knew it unconsciously, but maybe not consciously. And so I actually went through the traditional course of I graduated in architecture and I worked in that for 2 full years in full time, pretty much during COVID. And during that point, it was like I was really trying to convince myself that, like, potentially this could be an option, get a good job in a good industry and enjoy your life. And dude, like as soon as I actually started working in the industry, I realized that, like, one, it sucks going into an office every day.
Mm,
Two, for someone else, and three, getting told what to do by pretty much incompetent people. And so, no matter how hard you work, you don't get rewarded better. You just sit in an office all day. You open Instagram and you just see people living these amazing lives, and you're like, what am I doing different? Because I'm just sitting in this office making, excuse the expression, shit money,
yeah.
and these guys are out doing all this crazy stuff. Like, what's different from them and me? And so I did that for a bit. And I was like, I have to do something. And at the time, I just didn't know how to do things from Australia. So I decided to just move across the world to Europe and just be totally by myself and just try and figure it out. So that's what I ended up doing. And fortunately, it worked out.
And what made you kind of like, because Australia is very far away from Italy. So what was it that kind of actually made you want to make that step? Because outside looking in, I mean, that's very uncomfortable. That doesn't look easy to move away from everything you kind of ever know.
Yeah, but like it is. But the thing is, like, Australia's far away from everywhere anyway. So it doesn't really make a huge difference where in Europe you are. It's still basically 24 hours.
Yeah,
I just wanted to pick somewhere that wasn't the traditional, somewhere that wouldn't give me a traditional backup. So, for example, you probably see this a lot with Irish people going to Australia because they can get well-paying jobs, nice climate, whatever else, right? A lot of the Australians, what they do is they go to England because English speaking, the qualifications kind of pass over and they can do similar jobs and roles in the UK. And I knew a lot of friends that went to the UK too. And I knew if I went to the UK, if I didn't succeed in business, then I knew in the back of my head I'd always have a backup of, like, well, you could probably just find like an architecture role in England and do that for a couple of years, and that'll satisfy my urge to do something different. And so I was like, look, I need to pick somewhere that is one, tax efficient, two, exciting, and three, completely different that doesn't give me like a backup plan to kind of potentially not take it serious.
Mm. And what was the actual goal for you, like when you were planning on moving out? What did that look like?
It wasn't even that complex. It's really just like, how do I find a way where I can have as much freedom as possible, control my own schedule, and make money and do cool things, like build cool products and services and have an impact on the world pretty much. As long as I could free myself in the day to day of like just having to go to an office and work for someone else, I'd be happy.
So not focusing on the how is actually important, would you say?
For sure, for sure. It was always like, whether you do vision boards or affirmations or goal setting or all of the above, like I think each of us has a different way of relating to what's most easy for you as a person and what actually has an impact. And for
Mm.
me, I just always had that image in my mind of like, okay, I'm gonna have freedom. I'm gonna run my own companies. And at the time, it made no sense because I was working in a juice bar, during university. I was working full time as a barista in a juice bar in the airport, working from 4 a.m. till 2, and then I'd go to university from 2 till 6 or 7. And then I'd either have another shift from 7 or 8 till midnight and then get up and do the same thing. And it was just through that, I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, this is not the way. Uh,
Mm.
so, yeah, just always, even when the situation didn't seem to support my delusions, I think for some of us, if you just consistently have that image in your head, for me, it was an image at least,
Yeah.
uh, somehow life in the universe finds a way to kind of bring that and manifest that to reality.
And what was that image for you?
It wasn't one particular image, to be honest. It was like dozens. You know what I mean? I set up a vision board when I was pretty young. I still have it in my parents' home in my bedroom. And yeah, whenever I go back to Australia, I went back actually a few months back, and I saw it, and I was like, damn, that's crazy because a lot of those images are really ticked off, which is insane. Because I remember putting that, and I was like, if I could just pick my dream life, this would be it. And seeing even a good chunk of that already being ticked off is a pretty cool thing.
That's amazing. That's amazing, David. And when you kind of got over to Italy, what was it then that kind of actually led you to get to where you are today? No, I know you got the big jump out of the way, but there's obviously a lot of work that comes with that as well.
Yeah, I think I'd say the first month of doing that, I didn't really set it. It kind of felt like a holiday at first. I had an Airbnb. I
Mm.
had no idea. I didn't speak the language. I had no idea how to set up, a rental contract, how to live alone, none of that stuff. And so that first month, I was like, damn, like I'm actually here. I'm gonna have to make this work. And so going through that process, it was genuinely just doing whatever I could find to make it work, whatever I could stick with or stick to, I should say. And so at that time, I ended up organizing a long-term rental contract, which was 6 months at the time. And I was like, oh my God, I don't even know if I can commit to 6 months because like, what if nothing works out? Like, I'm just gonna have to go straight home. My savings will be done. Anyway, decided to commit to it. I found it the day before that Airbnb was expiring. And it was literally one small room in a 5 bedroom apartment with like no living room, just a kitchen, four other roommates, and basically just a desk and a bed. And I remember walking in here and I was like, I don't know if I made like a huge mistake here. Like, this is not as glamorous as I thought it might be.
Mm.
And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna make it work. And so I ended up I ended up buying like this community access thing. Definitely not worth the money, but I ended up meeting one person from there, from a friend of a friend. Uh,
Yeah,
and he pitched me on joining this company. And the company was basically one person with an idea and nothing else, not even a registration. But I was like, fuck it, like I need to find a way to make money.
yeah.
So jumped into that as a sales role. I was already doing a bit of sales before I left, like 6 months or so. And they had a team of maybe 8 sales reps. And those 8 sales reps have been working for the company for about 3 months. And not a single one of them had closed a deal. And the whole team on average was booking about 2 to 3 appointments a day. So they weren't very good.
Mm.
And within the first 2 days, I booked 12 calls. Within the first week, I closed the deal for $8,000. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, if this person has zero structure in their company, that they have 8 people working for them, they don't know what they're doing. Uh,
Yeah.
but they're just brave enough to try. Why couldn't I do that too? And
Mm.
I ended up pitching him into turning that into like a partnership and like exerting my value enough to where he wanted to partner with me because he was like, damn, you just do everything. You don't even ask. And from there, just jumped from venture to venture to venture and started building my own companies because I realized it's a lot more fun when you have control over the product instead of, someone else.
That's really interesting as well. Like a team of 8 people booking like 3 appointments a day, and over 3 months they close nothing, and you just sweep in, tidy it up completely. I mean, do you think that sales is either you have it or you don't?
No, 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 absolutely not. Like I'll tell you right now, I don't even like sales, and I have a sales training community. I don't even like sales,
Really?
uh, but it is probably the most fundamental skill that you can have for anything in your life. And I say sales in terms of hopping on calls and talking to people that you don't know all day long, but really life is sales, and there is obviously parts of life where I love selling people, and I find different ways to do that. So, I mean, traditional sales, I mean, working in a role, I'm not a fan of, but like when I'm selling founder to founder or to products and services that I own and enjoy and see the vision of, yeah, it's the most exciting thing ever. And I think it's essential to really business. Every business is sales. Everything is sales at the end of the day. Dating, business, life.
Mm.
Uh, it's essentially just conversations. And if you could be the person that even just gets the better half of 60% of conversations in your life, it tends to go like this because on average, you're winning most of the time.
Yeah.
And people just forget that like the person, if they know nothing about sales and the person on the other side of the room does, they basically have zero chance at getting the outcome that they want from that conversation. And so they'll fool themselves into the belief that if or they're not in sales or they don't want to do that or they're not good at it. But the reality is they are doing it anyway. And if you don't choose to get good at it, you're just going to consistently lose to other people in life and in business.
Mm. Mm. And for you, I mean, for someone who doesn't actually like, enjoy sales most of the time, what was it that made you want to start a sales community? Because that's like the high end of sales right there.
Yeah, that's a good question. At the start, it was literally just to help people, right? Because although you may not enjoy something, you can still force yourself to do it out of discipline and obligation or need. For me, it was need of survival at the time. We were making no money from teaching people sales at all. For the first, I think it was 12, maybe even 18 months of AST,
Wow.
we made $0. We just did 2 calls a week, every week for 18 months, didn't ask for a thing in return. And then as a result of that, people came to listen to us and valued the time, attention, and energy we had. Because at the time, I mean, it took me 6 months to make like actually make money in the online space. That deal was a one-off. Because I left that company pretty much straight after. And so between that period, there was 6 months where I made zero money. And during that whole process, I was just like, look, if there's other people in my situation that kind of have ambition, they don't know where to put it, what if we could just shortcut that a little bit and help them not get scammed by some random community, help them realize their ambitions and give them a clear path on something to go down where they can find a skill to learn and that actually adds value to their life rather than just chasing, drop shipping or this model or whatever it is that they want to focus they see on TikTok or Instagram.
Amazing, amazing. And looking back on that now, how important do you think that was to kind of to not necessarily chase the money at the start of building the community and actually just build a community?
Yeah, for sure. Giving value, like I mean, you hear it all the time from Gary Vee, give, give, give. I think he says like jab, 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 punch or whatever it is. I don't know what his
Jab, jab,
expression.
hook.
There you go. And then Hormozy basically says the same thing. Um, and it wasn't necessarily that I listened to either of them, but like fundamentally, my main motivation for trying to be successful was just be able to help as many people as possible. Because I think it's cool that you can have an impact and people look up to you and respect you as a leader. Because I think it validates in a weird way yourself and your ambitions and the things that you tell yourself too. And so for me, it was just making a difference because at that point I was already doing stuff. We connected with some pretty good guys in the space that we're learning a lot from. And I was like, look, how can I just pass this on and share it with as many people as possible? Because then I can build friends and a network around me that do the same stuff. Because at the time I was just alone in Milan with no friends, no one that I knew. It was pretty lonely doing it. And it's a lot more fun when you're in business with friends and people that you like and enjoy spending time with. So there's a bit of a mix.
Amazing, amazing. Like creativity burns burnout. I heard that from James Gallagher. Really, really good quote. And for you, I mean, you said there that kind of time back to something you said for 6 months you made zero. You made nothing. I mean, for a lot of people, that would just be okay. This does not work. I'm gonna take a flight back home to Australia. You know, I'll work a shit job, but I'll it will be getting money on the table. But why'd you keep going?
Uh, I made a promise to myself before I moved that like no matter what, like I'm just gonna go all out because I knew if I came back to Australia, I would just get another job and I'd do the exact same thing. And then one day I'd wake up at 45 years old and be like, I've just wasted my life. And so basically I told myself I'm either going to be homeless or successful, and that's it, because I'm not going to come back to Australia. And that's really hard to stick to because at the time, I'll give you context, before I moved, I had 25,000 AUD in savings, which is like, man, I don't know, 15, 16 grand euro.
Mm,
And I was like, this is supposed to last me a year. And so I was like, okay, cool. Like, that should be good. And you get to Italy and like, that might only last you 6 months if you're living
yeah,
a life, especially if you're paying rent, which I've never done before. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So after that, man, I had 6 months. So the reason I was happy to take a back seat on that was like, one, I'm just gonna leave it up to God a little bit, just see what
mm,
happens. God, the universe, and I just have a weird feeling that it's gonna work out. And so basically, what happened was we got connected to Harvard's entrepreneurial sales coach. His name is Chris Harris. Still a
yeah.
mentor to this day. Fantastic guy. I think he's actually CRO of a $400 million company right now.
Wow.
And he basically met with myself and Josh. And he was like, yeah, like you guys have something. You have like, I see myself in you. And it's funny. It's like, it's a theme across all of my
Mm,
business partnerships is that even my partner to this day, same thing that he said when we first met each other. It was like, I just see myself in you. I see the ambition. I see the drive. I see that you have the potential to do this. So he pitched us on joining kind of one of his business ventures back then. And I was like, look, it's Harvard's entrepreneurial sales coach. Like,
yeah, yeah,
a huge opportunity. I had like Harvard, like I've just heard about that in movies. And so look, I was like, I don't really care if I make money. I'm just going to learn as much as possible from this guy and buy into the vision and just do everything that I can to make it work. Like I don't really care if it takes 6 months or 12 months or 2 years. I'm just going to make it work. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make nowadays is like, what's the immediate return that they can get? It's very transactional
mm,
rather than being like, how can I make anything that I do a success? So it went on about 6 months, and again, like we booked over $100 billion companies to the clients during that period. I sat on calls with CMOs of Fortune 500 companies, just learning and absorbing all this information from him. And basically, at that point, I was draining my savings. I think I got down to about once you get down to about 2,000, 2,500 in your account, that's the cost of a flight to Australia. And
yeah.
so, like, damn, like if I don't quit this, like I'm basically committing to either being homeless or just hoping some miracle happens. And so I got down to a point, there was 100, I remember it distinctly because there was 120 euro in my account. And I couldn't even buy groceries at the time. I was like, no, I can't put that towards it because I need that expense just in case, I need to catch the train or do this or whatever. So I couldn't even buy groceries at that point. And I had rent due in about a week and a half after that. And I was like, they just like I literally went out that night. There's a little park, and I went out. I just prayed to God. I was like something has to work. And literally the month after, that business partner that I was telling you about, the one that said the same thing that Chris did, um, he hired myself and Josh to manage his offer because he just saw the potential in it. He was like, look, you're young, hungry guys. I'm going to give you guys a shot. And I was like, cool, that's all I need. Just give me a shot and I'll prove myself. And that month we both made, I think it was like 14,000 USD each. And
Wow.
that just saved the whole trajectory of my time overseas. It was just like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like it genuinely saved me so much. It was 6 months of just seeing your savings go like this and
Mm.
you get this big payoff. And I was like, oh my God, like God really answered my prayers.
And when you say you're talking about God and praying to God and like some dark moments of your life and you didn't know how anything was going to work for you, I mean, essentially, kind of what is your relationship with God, I suppose, and what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think everyone kind of goes through a period in their life, especially if they grew up. I don't know about yourself. Did you grow up in like a Christian household?
Yeah, Catholic. Yeah,
There you go. Yeah, same thing for me too. So, I mean, you grow up in an Irish Catholic household as well. You know, you go to church growing up, all this type of stuff, and like, it's almost, I don't want to say forced upon you, but
it's
it's
like a chore
natural.
for me anyway. I found it that way.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of the way that it's introduced to you. And so you're like, well, I didn't choose this. I want to choose my own path. And I think a lot of us kind of go through this period of like questioning. Uh, questioning beliefs, what's being given to them, why it's a good idea, why we should respect tradition or legacy and that type of stuff. And there was a good few years where I'd consider myself an atheist or agnostic, and like, yeah, I don't know, like it's just science, whatever. And I think the more that you look at the world and you look at not only good but evil, and you look at the byproduct of Christianity, really, is beautiful to see on the world. I mean, yeah, you can take a lot of bad stuff, but you can also take a huge amount of good stuff. And generally, I think it just gives good principles to live by. And also, as humans, I think that we need something greater to believe in, because otherwise, you get into a lot of hedonism, a lot of moral questions, a lot of structure that unless you're a very well put together person with clear principles anyway, that you can be a victim to. And so just having faith in God or the universe, whatever you want to choose to believe in, I think it can help you get through a lot of tougher times. It's almost like that experiment with like um, I'm not sure if you've heard of this yourself, but there was an experiment where they placed a rat into a beaker of water and
Yeah,
basically they left it to drown, and it drowned within like 5 minutes. And then what they did is they put a second rat into a beaker of water and they let it go. And just before it was about to drown, they rescued it and they pulled it back out, gave it a little bit of time to recover, and then they put it back in. Guess how long that second rat, stayed afloat?
15, 20 minutes.
60 hours.
Wow, wow.
Yeah. And you look at that and that's the direct result of faith.
Yeah,
And so I think there's a lot that can be done. Really embodying that in yourself, yeah, as people too.
and aside from like having faith in God, which is obviously very important, I mean, what was a kind of belief that you kept throughout this whole journey that that made sure that you got to where you are today, and that you really believe was the a key ingredient to your success?
I mean, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, there's plenty of times where I was doubting stuff or whatever else, and I don't even use it as a crutch to be like, I don't really push religion down people's faces at all.
Yeah.
I just think it works for me and who I am as a person. But I think a lot of us would be fools to not recognize how much of our prayers are actually answered.
Mm.
Because usually once we get the things that we ask for, we kind of forget about it. And if you really looked back and asked and looked back at all the prayers or requests or wishes that you'd pray for, you have a lot of them. I mean, you look at health, success, connections, network, even that event that you attended. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff that you never thought a lot of people that you never thought you'd be in a room with.
100%.
Um, and a lot of the time we just forget that.
And for you, I mean, like a lot, I know a lot of people who, they might like the idea of God, but they can't just believe in something, but just because it sounds cool for us. So for you, what was that made you actually have that faith in God?
Yeah, I mean, like I get it. I was the exact same. Like when people started talking about God or Christianity or whatever, my eyes would glaze over. I'd be like, here we go. I'm gonna get preached at by this guy who's just telling me, faith, 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 faith. The
Mm,
thing is, for me, I don't really care what anyone thinks, and like it's for me, it's not about like following a church doctrine, going to mass every Sunday. It's more
yeah.
just embodying the principles as best as possible, being a good person, essentially. That's to me ultimately what it comes down to. Do unto to others as you want as yourself. And yeah, if you get like again, like you got to look at the who you are as a person, and we design ourselves as characters as well. We kind of build ourselves like a video game. And I just looked at the best principles that you could see in many of the people that are, very faithful and religious, I suppose, in some senses. And, it's looking after others, treating the poor well,
Mm,
helping people that aren't in good situations. Um, all of those traits I want to embody. And I don't really care. I'm not saying anyone should or has to, believe in Christianity or God or whatever. You can make your own choice. But for me, that's what I found worked, and that's what I find that genuinely so many of my prayers are answered anyway. So I'm just going to be my own person, and whether you like that or not, I don't really care. It's not a matter of that anyone has to subscribe to anything. I don't really care if other people are or aren't Christian. It doesn't bother me. This works, and I think the principles itself to follow as best as possible, because obviously we're not perfect, is always good and beneficial to your life.
yeah, yeah, that's amazing. I really like the. I think the Bible is really interesting as well because we have somebody to look up to, but not just that, but we get to understand him, how he makes decisions, and kind of his whole entire life that we get to learn from as well. So that's really amazing as well, David. And for you, what does success look like?
To me, it always came down to freedom, at least freedom of choice.
Mm,
So I wouldn't say like my metric of success is like $10 million or five or 100 or $1 billion. Like obviously I want to hit every single one of those marks.
yeah.
But for me, it's just the optionality of doing what I want, for me, myself, and my family. Because I think if you build yourself into a person that you like, you enjoy, you have a life that you get to go do cool things, and you have good values, good people around you, and you have a good head on your shoulders too.
Mm,
The more options and the more choice, the better it is for yourself and the world. And so essentially, the more power that you accrue, if you do believe yourself to be a good person, the better it is for everyone. And so just having the freedom of choice to do stuff is probably the biggest thing. Because my frustration working for other people or listening to a lot of people that maybe I didn't feel like were qualified to tell me what to do was that when you listen to someone who like either hasn't put in the work or doesn't have the knowledge that you feel like you do, and they tell you what to do, it's just like, why am I listening to this? Like, it's so frustrating, but you're forced to listen to them or do what they say anyway. And so
yeah.
it just doesn't make sense in my head. Like, yeah, okay, you might have the better of the power dynamic, but like, you're not, who makes you qualified as a person? And so when you look at, I mean, you got political systems like meritocracies and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Think generally life operates as a meritocracy, and some of these systems that we have set up do the opposite of that. And it's really frustrating to me personally. Is like when you look at the world, you see a bunch of problems, and I'm not talking about like wars or famine and all that type of stuff. Yeah, sure, that's a problem, but you look at just the way that systems are set up, and it just doesn't logically make sense to my head. It's not built in a way that incentivizes growth and performance and hard work as much as I think it should.
Interesting. Interesting. So for you, what is the goal now? Because obviously, I know you've reached a decent level of freedom compared to most people. So, what does like next 5, 10 years look like for you?
I just want to build as many cool things with as many cool people as I can. So whether it's having an impact on the world through, the businesses that I run, the products and services that we create. And I think the more reach and impact that we can have with that, the happier I'll be. I think a byproduct of providing that much value is that you get rich in the process, and that'll work in your favor. So it really is a win-win. I think I talked about this a little bit in even speaking at the event from in December, was it's not a it's not a crabs in a bucket mentality. It's not like the pie of life is just like the same always, you know. You providing value or you providing a new product or service literally grows how much there is for everyone. And so for me, I just want to make really push my talents, my skills, and the connections of people and products and services that I've made to go as far as possible and just see how far I can go.
Amazing, amazing. And across all the people that you've connected with, you've worked with, like likes of Chris Harris, working for Harvard, Mentor of Sales. I mean, what would you say is the most common trait among these financially successful people?
That's a really good question. I'll give you an answer that might not be as politically correct as most people would, but I think genuinely there's a level of social awareness that some people have that when you look at them, instantly you can tell that they have the capacity to be successful. And I think that's what Cole or Chris might have saw in me back then is even though I didn't have shit to show for myself, I didn't have any, particular success monetarily. When you look at a person, you can gauge that level of social awareness in them, even if they're young. And I guess you can develop that to an extent, but I think some people are definitely more predisposed to that. And you might meet like 18-year-olds that are way more mature, way more emotionally intelligent than 40-year-olds.
Yeah,
A lot of the time, I think that emotional intelligence allows you to lead the conversations that you have in day-to-day life, the conversations that you have in business, down a way that is able to essentially r rank the chance of success in your favor, right? It's essentially sales, but there's a level of awareness above sales, which is the ability to understand, empathize with others, see where they're coming from, see what they want to get out of interaction, communicate with them, understand where they're coming from, why they think that way, why you think this particular way, and bridge the gap between that.
yeah, yeah. That's really interesting because what I've heard from James Dunlan, the founder of the School of Hard Knocks, is people can get you into rooms that money can't. And it's just amazing. And to go from you as well, I mean, what do you think has allowed you to build such good relationships with so many successful people?
I think you being a genuine person is going to be the best asset that you can have. Better than money, better than anything else. Talk about the people thing, 100%. That's true. I mean, the reason that I have such amazing people in my life is just genuinely I've always held the belief that you want to be always do the best for others,
Mm.
always be as genuine as possible and true to yourself, most importantly, true to yourself as possible. And if you do that over a long enough time scale and through enough ventures or situations, people generally see that and your reputation builds through that. Cole, my business partner, the one that I was talking about as well on here, he used to talk about building relationships over profit. And that
Mm.
was kind of his philosophy back in the day. And that definitely stuck with me a lot too, in terms of I see the success that he has just as a byproduct of just having a reputation of being a good person. And it's not being a good person for the sake of vanity. I don't really care what anyone thinks if they think I'm good or bad, but you knowing internally that you are actually doing good for people or being empathetic to situations or when stuff comes in business and someone might want a refund and most people would be like, no, I'm not going to give you a refund, but the goodwill that you get maybe from giving you hopping on a conversation with that person, smoothing over that relationship, giving them a refund or a partial refund or whatever it is that that situation requires, snowballs. It snowballs a lot. And the more people that you can do it with, the faster it spreads as a network and you get a reputation and that reputation stays with you for life. So if you can just do good things, be a good person as much as possible, selfishly, that's going to serve you a lot better than trying to just get your ends and be selfish at the start.
So really kind of thinking for long term growth and not just kind of short term, maybe getting this quick money or, they were in the wrong, I'm gonna let them know about it.
Yeah, dude, life's a long game. It's like, fingers crossed, we're all going to be around till 80, let's say.
Yeah.
It's a long time. And like, I know people at the start of the journey. In fact, the business person that I originally sold that initial offer for, he burned his reputation like straight away, like within 3 months of getting into the online game. And he was actually fairly connected to a bunch because it's a small world in the business and entrepreneurial space as well. In the US, Europe, Australia, we know a lot of people across the
Mm.
world. By extension, those people know a lot of people. And so reputation can spread and people ask questions about other people too. And so I just saw the direct result of that. of him not doing particularly good things and that reputation spreading and impacting his financial success too. And even though I was already embodying that, seeing it in the flesh of like, okay, like it really can remove you from a lot of opportunities doing stupid stuff that you really shouldn't be doing.
Mm. This is amazing, David. And look, just before we go, I'm super grateful that you jumped on here today. But I have one last question. Let's say me and you were to die today. What's one last piece of advice that you could leave this generation?
I think the biggest thing, man, like I don't want to be cliche, but you have to embody yourself as much as possible. Like I think you intuitively know exactly who you are, even if you aren't that person yet, if that makes sense. And we hide and shelter ourselves from like people's opinions, what friends are going to say, what family is going to say. People also have expectations or beliefs of who we are, and they put that on you, and so you end up hiding a lot of yourself as a result, and you're not true to yourself. And I think that's the root cause of unhappiness is just not being genuine to yourself and being the person that you are. Because once you start embodying that and embodying that without apology, essentially
Mm.
your life is just like so much more enjoyable. And like all of the ventures that you do are going to be more fun. All the friends that you make are going to be more aligned, and all the stuff that isn't aligned just falls away as a result of that. So just be true to yourself.
That's absolutely amazing. Well, look, David, I'm so grateful for you jumping on here today. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. It's amazing to kind of get the ball rolling and be the have the first interview on. So thank you so much, David.
Congratulations as well. I'm excited to see more.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks so much, David. It's great talking
Awesome.
to you.
No stress.